This Jocks 94.5 podcast is brought to you by Millennium Satellite and Video. Log on to msbnow.com. TV excellence everywhere. That's Millennium. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning starts now.
Hour number 2 of McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian Mitchell, Jon Sumrall here with you. Having some fun early this morning. Just kind of talking just SEC. I guess it started off as talking hot takes, but then all of a sudden I started just rooting for Texas A&M all of a sudden. I was giving Texas A&M the benefit of the doubt.
Literally the one team you said you wish would never win at all.
Never.
The one team.
And now I'm just presented with so much information.
You're all in on them.
It's just, man,
do we need to call your boy? Like, hey, man, like, look what happened.
It's like, hey, man, one thing I won't do is apologize for the years of mediocrity that you were as a quarterback. But also, your alma mater, man, they're actually winning me over. They're actually winning me over. But no, I just Texas A&M, it's all up to you. And that's the thing, man. Mike Elko, if he was coaching anywhere else, I'd be rocking with him. But I can't get over that hump. But there's a part of me, there is a part deep down in my soul that believes that this is the year. This is the year. They're going to have to get it done. If they don't, I'm done. I'm over with. Cooked. But it's been a fun show. Going in hour 2, we'll have Dave Waters talking some Florida here in about 15 minutes because I do think that that's a team, too, that is kind of looked at as a little bit of a dark horse. And really and truly, for as much I've been seeing and hearing from them on social media, it doesn't really feel like they're more of a dark horse. I feel like people are really thinking that Florida's going to be a contender. We'll hear from Dave Waters, who covers the Florida Gators down there in Gainesville, and see what he says going into the 2026 season. 205-834-9450. Your text message, your call is always welcome here on the show. Somebody texts in and says, how hot will Kalen DeBoer's seat if Bama starts 2-1 with a loss to either Kentucky or Florida State? Which loss will hurt him more? He just signed a contract extension.
Yeah, he ain't going nowhere.
It ain't going to be any hotter than it is today.
Bama ain't got no money to pay no buyout. Like,
nah.
Y'all can complain all you want, but the extension was signed.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you can go 0-12 and still be back next year.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they'll look for even if they wanted to. I mean, it would take all of you listening to step up and pay to do that, because there's no T. Boone Pickens, there's no Phil Knight, there's no angel investor that could come in. You know what? I want to make Alabama football great again. Like, no, y'all naysayers are broke.
That's a fact. But a loss, I always think conference losses are worse than out of conference. Like, if you lose to Kentucky, then there'll be some uncomfortable conversations. But if you lose to Florida State, hell, y'all already lost to them last year, still made it to the college football playoff.
Yeah.
You lose a conference game, then you ain't going to Atlanta. You're going to need some help along the way. Like,
let alone Kentucky and Will Stein in his first year. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
it'll just be some uncomfortable conversations. But I don't necessarily think that we have to worry about that. But crazier things have happened. But I'd lean that Alabama would handle their business for both Florida State and Kentucky. Bama Hater texts in. He says, the first one was, Damian, why should a team that lost 3 of their last 6 games, ran for an average of 9.5 per game in 2 postseason games, lost by 21, then by almost 6 touchdowns, be thought of as a potential playoff team in 2026? Well, they made it to the college football playoff in 2025 amongst all those things, and they ran across the best team in college football.
Oh, is that entire team from last year playing this year?
Yeah.
Oh, there was last year's team. Oh, okay, because teams change from year to year. Okay, cool.
Correct. Because I'm telling you, if Ty Simpson had another year at Alabama, like it wouldn't even be a conversation.
Correct, yeah.
And then he says national champions in January 2027 will be the team that beat 11-1 Texas A&M, 12-1 Ohio State, and 12-1 Ole Miss in the playoffs last season. But there is a common theme. You both lost to Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, like, oh no, we rinse and repeat last year. 2 teams that were in the college football playoff. And you tell me Alabama's still going to go on the road and beat a playoff team too? Like, oh. Okay, we shall see. 205-834-9450. Our buddy Don wants to talk to us this morning. What's going on, Donald?
Hello, my guys. How y'all doing this morning?
Doing well, brother.
Yeah, good to see you yesterday. That was a lot of fun yesterday. No, I heard your take on Auburn, and you said you thought they could be 4-0 at home. So you're saying that you think we're going to beat LSU at home?
Yeah, I said that you're going to be undefeated at home. LSU, you get them at the crib, handle your business.
Okay, well let me go a little step farther in my schedule. Damien, and John, I'm going over my schedule since you said that and everything, and I got us 8-3 going into the Alabama game.
And those 3 losses coming to
Georgia, Tennessee, and I think we're gonna split the LSU Ole Miss. LSU at home, Ole Miss on the road. We need to split that. Win one of those two. That would, and then you got Mississippi State, Arkansas, Samford after those games. So I got us 8-3 going in the Alabama game, and anything can happen in that game. And I think Alabama will be 8-3 going into that game also.
Why do you think Auburn loses to Tennessee on the road?
Well, Knoxville, tough place to play, and we haven't had good. My history at Tennessee is not good at all. Yeah,
Your history,
ask Cole about playing at Tennessee. He'll tell you.
Man, that was the big shoulder pad era, man. I've seen Auburn go up to Neyland and win.
Yeah,
they won with Nick Marshall.
They've done it this century.
Well, yes, actually, you know what? That game, they killed Tennessee in that game.
Yeah, so you don't think that this team right now is equipped? And think of the way Tennessee is in shambles right now. You're telling me you don't have confidence that Auburn's going to go on the road and
Damian barely mentions them anymore.
Right. So you're telling me Josh Heupel is a better coach than Alex Golesh? Is that what you're admitting?
As of right now, yes.
Let's go. Hey, say no more.
As of right,
your words, not mine.
Disciple, but hey, you're a Heupel disciple, my friend.
And where did Alex Golesh learn all his offensive structure from?
Well, actually, you know what? Now you're encouraging me, Damien. Thank you. Our whole offensive coaching staff came from Tennessee.
So we're all Heupel disciples in here.
That's right, buddy. But now, how do you think Tennessee's going to be this year?
Middle of the road. I think middle of the road. I think just because of what Heupel's system is offensively, they'll be able to hang around. But I don't have the most confidence in what their quarterback room is going to look like. I think that for everything that is expected from the quarterback, it's going to be tough sledding. But I do think the weapons that they have out wide with the receivers and Deshaun Bishop in the backfield, they'll be able to hang within some games. But I still think they're missing a few pieces defensively to go back and kind of look like they did in 2024. So I think they'll be tough.
Yeah, matter of fact, one of our wide receivers that came from South Florida, Nimrod, played at Tennessee that year. That they lost to Alabama 52-49. He was on that team. Caught a couple of passes in that game, I believe. Everything, but speaking of the receivers, and you said Singleton and Coleman, watch out for our kid, Kashawn Singleton. Watch out for him now. I think he's going to have a big year. But I'm going to tell you, Damien and John, who I think is going to have a huge year that nobody's talking about. And Damien, I know how much you like him. Jeremiah Cobb might have a huge year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, he almost ran for 1,000 yards last year when Damari Alston left the team, and all he did was just carry the load, man. I'm with you.
He did. All right, well, guys, thank y'all very much. You're doing a great job. Love the show, guys. Thank you.
We appreciate you, buddy. I think that, I mean, listen, I know I was just playing with Don there with Auburn and Tennessee, but realistically, I think especially if you knock off Florida, going into Neyland, 3-0 at that time, the momentum is high. And also it's a little bit of a get back for Golesh saying, like, hey, man, one, appreciate the time that we had up here in Knoxville, but now I'm coming in as the enemy. Like we shake hands, do our, like, hey, appreciate you. I appreciate the opportunity, but I'm here as the head coach now. Like this ain't nothing to play with. But I think that's what's so fun about this league is, hey, yeah, you could tell me that Auburn goes up to Neyland and all of a sudden Josh gets that thing rolling and they get him at home. Boom, you got him. But also we saw Tennessee last year when Oklahoma was kind of in no man's land, go out there and knock you off on the day before Halloween. So, the day after, it was November 1st. But there's a lot of things that can just go as a season goes along, because I do think that whoever Tennessee has at quarterback, the system is just predicated so much on your decision making that I don't know if by week 4 they're going to be still rolling at a high level. Now, again, you have the benefit of having some experienced receivers out there, and you can rely on running the football with Deshaun Bishop and those running backs that you have. So does Josh kind of take not necessarily a foot off the gas, but say, hey, we're going to establish the run game first. We're going to spread this thing out. Let's gash them. If they can't stop us running, we're not going to ask you to do too much. But when you have those home runs, you got to be able to hit them. Because I think that's what kind of gave me a lot of confidence in Hendon Hooker a couple seasons ago, is because in 21 there were long foul balls. Like, there was a bunch of, like, man, if he could get it to Tillman, if he can get it to Peyton, like, man, if their home run, if those hit at a better rate in 22, yeah, they're going to be cooking with grease. Now, I didn't think they were going to look the way that they did. I was just kind of like, hey, like, maybe instead of scoring 24, you may get to 31. Didn't know they was going to go out here and drop 40 and 50 on people. But I think that's what they've been chasing for so long, but they haven't been able to get that consistency at quarterback because, yeah, you paid a ton of money to Nico, but he flamed out. And then Joey Aguilar last year at moments showed you that he could get it done, because you go back and watch the first quarter of Tennessee and Georgia. You're like, yep, this is what Heupel's been missing for a while. And then a couple interceptions later, it's okay, now it's back to reality. We're back to the inconsistency. And I think that's what's been holding Tennessee back, just because of what they've been able to do. And then defensively, they were just ultra, like Greg and Cole talk about, they were just emotional. Like, they were just, I think Greg hit the nail on the head last week, and he's like, man, yeah, you may stop them. You may, get a sack on first down. Then all of a sudden a QB counter hits you for 35 the next play. And it's like, oh, we got to get that back. So you send, you go engage 8 and send 8, and then all of a sudden, boom, you hit, you leave somebody wide open across the middle, and you can't sustain leads and things like that. So I think that'll be an interesting game, because both teams play like that. Because Auburn now, with Alex Golesh in that system, it's very similar to what he ran when he was at Tennessee with Josh Heupel, and something's going to have to give. And right now, I would give a little bit of the edge to DJ Durkin in that defense, because Jim Knowles is going into year 1. Like, this is the first time he's gotten with these guys. Whereas DJ Durkin, he has a lot of retention and a lot of playmakers there defensively for Auburn to go up there, especially with Xavier Atkins, a guy that really came on last year to being one of the best linebackers in the country. Now you got that back. So all in all, like, when you look at both Alabama and Auburn schedules, there are going to be challenges. There's challenges every single year.
No, there should be. You don't want a Houston, a Texas Tech, and Notre Dame style schedule. No.
Correct. Like, you're going to be tested early. Like, it's going to be early, especially for Auburn. You jumping in the conference play in week 3 against a team in Florida who, again, it wasn't because of lack of talent last year that they didn't have the season that they had, that they had the season that they had. It was just kind of matchups where, DJ Lagway goes into Death Valley, throws 5 interceptions, like those things. I don't expect them to put Aaron Philo in those situations, because of the fact you've got Jaden Bott, who has shown that just hand him the ball, block a few people, and he will do the rest. And also that receiver room that started to emerge as the season went on with Dallas Wilson, and now you're adding Eric Singleton. So, like, the pieces are definitely there, and it'll be interesting to see where the Florida Gators go. And we'll have Dave Waters on the other side, who will break down some of just the expectations and what to expect from Florida in first year Jon Sumrall on the other side of Mac and Cube in the morning.
Go inside Jocks 94.5 on Jocks TV. Morning Jocks, Mac and Cube, 3-man front video simulcasts are presented by Bill Smith Buick GMC and Game Day Men's Health. Watch on the Jocks mobile app and YouTube by searching Jocks 94.5 TV.
8:17 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian and John here with you. We're also joined by Dave Waters, who covers the Florida Gators for Gators Breakdown there in Gainesville. Appreciate you hopping on with us, talking some Florida football. Going into this 2026 season, it feels a little bit like it was last season, just in a different way. But Florida seems as the quote-unquote dark horse going into 2026 because of Jon Sumrall and just kind of the new regime. But just kind of give us a breakdown of what it kind of feels like, almost a temperature check for Gainesville going into the 2026 season.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up a year ago. I talked about that on my show too when all this dark horse stuff kind of was coming out. I guess you could have labeled Florida as a dark horse last year, but it is in a different fashion. You go back a year ago and Florida was coming off an 8-5 season, had that really good November run where they beat LSU and they beat Ole Miss and DJ Lagway's quarterback and so many returning pieces. And it was like, okay, well, if there's a team that's going to maybe make their first college football playoff appearance, it's Florida because they ended the season really, really well the year before that. And, of course, we all know the wheels fall off, and Florida doesn't come anywhere close to that. They're out of the conversation by week 2 after they lose to USF. So, we fast forward a year, and Florida's being picked in, as this dark horse again. And, look, we got to remember what a dark horse is. You're not projected to be a favorite. Nobody just should be picking you to be one of the top contenders. But if a team can sneak in, who out of the SEC can be that? And there's been a couple of pundits out there who have pegged Florida to do that. And you look at Jon Sumrall's history of coming in at Troy, coming in at Tulane, and instant success right away. And there's a lot of talent on this Florida roster. It just hasn't, the coaching hasn't not been able to get the best out of it. So if he can, get some breaks, if he can unlock the talent that's on this Florida roster, you can see why Florida getting pegged as that dark horse contender. So I think the temperature check was already good before all that coming out. Jon Sumrall, I think, has done about as good as he can do without playing a game yet. That's where the ultimate decisions and ultimate determinations will come from about, what this program will be under him. But so far, so good. So I think that's really kind of just maybe even heightened the expectations even more with some of the dark horse college football playoff contender coming out in the last couple of weeks.
Having talent on or at Florida has never really been a problem, but it felt like last year talent wasn't really the problem. It felt like maybe there was a bit of a culture issue. Do you think that is still going to, how do you think that is going to change now that Jon Sumrall is at the helm and Billy Napier's gone?
Yeah, that's interesting because, the label for Billy Napier's teams were, all right, well, maybe he's not the best coach, but you'd always still see the team playing hard. Whether, that's not what the Florida standard is. It should be better than playing hard, but, Florida, when everything looked dead in the water, like I said, 2 years ago, magically turned the season around, played hard and got those big upset wins in November to end the 2024 season to put heightened expectations on last year. And then last year you didn't start off so well, but then you still got that big upset win versus Texas, but Florida couldn't follow that up. So, they always played hard for Billy Napier. It's just he wasn't a good coach, couldn't put the team in the best position. So I think, as far as culture goes, I don't think the culture was all that bad. You didn't have a lot of players getting in trouble. You didn't have a lot of players not giving it their all. They just were not put in the best position from a coaching perspective. So I think that's what really is the biggest thing here for Jon Sumrall is really just being a better developer, a better game day coach. Not putting Florida in disadvantaged situations because you don't have it on game day. And I think that's the part where really Jon Sumrall, I think, has to, give the belief in the players that I can put you in the best position to win. You go get guys, give all the effort. Give everything that you've given the last couple of years. We know you can play hard. We know you can play well. But let me follow my lead, and we'll be more consistent in that regard, and we'll go win a whole lot more ball games.
Here with Dave Waters, who covers the Florida Gators there in Gainesville with Gators Breakdown. Okay, looking at the offensive side for Florida, last year it was really the emergence of Jaden Baugh, and I think going into this season, everybody knows exactly who he is as far as the running back position is concerned. And receivers, they continue to get better and better, and it feels as though they are kind of the slept-on crew on the offensive side. But it takes the quarterback to be able to distribute the football, and we saw some inconsistencies with DJ Lagway last season. What does the quarterback position look like for Florida going into this fall?
Yeah, it's good that you say, all the skill position talent Florida has. Because that was kind of a theme going throughout spring practice. It didn't matter whether it was Aaron Philo, Tramel Jones. That's the quarterback battle going on now for Florida. And it was, we know we have the skill talents. Let's just go be, let's go be a point guard. Let's go get the guys the ball. And I think where that comes, the offensive line's in question too. So I think what can Buster Faulkner, the offensive coordinator coming over from Georgia Tech, what can he scheme up with these skill players? Because obviously you're going to want to get the ball in their hands as much as possible and as quick as possible. So I think for the offensive line, that might even help them out as as much as it needs to, because there's still a lot of questions along the offensive line, and there's a lot of moving pieces along the offensive line. So I do think with the scheming of Buster Faulkner, and look, I think you want to get the ball into the playmakers' hands as quick as possible. So I think that will help the offensive line as well. You have some guys who can make some guys miss with Vernell Brown III, and of course Eric Singleton Jr. coming in. So they could be extensions of the run game to help alleviate the traditional run game with Jaden Ball, alleviate the pressure on the quarterback. I think they're going to be creative in how they use those guys. Get them in the backfield with some sweeps and some reverses. Use them as extensions in the run game and in the wide receiver screen game as well. So I think there's going to be a lot of creativity from Buster Faulkner to help these quarterbacks out, to help this offensive line out. But look, we know this is the SEC. There's going to be a time where there's a 3rd and 7, and it's going to be on the quarterback's shoulders. So, where does the trust come in? Is it Aaron Philo, who has a history with Buster Faulkner there at Georgia Tech, or is it Tramel Jones, who really, has a good rapport with a lot of this Gator roster that he played with last year? He was a true freshman, earned his way into the backup position last year over some guys, who were more veteran. He was able to come back up DJ Lagway with him only really getting fall camp last year. He missed spring last year as well, so he was able to make an immediate impact, but at least become the backup to DJ Lagway last year. So I think when we get to fall camp, you don't want the competition to go too much longer. I think you want to go ahead and identify your starter and try and get all those reps that are so important in a new regime. But I think Florida does have two pretty good options here, and at least being that point guard for the offense.
What's the biggest question mark facing the defense heading into the upcoming season?
Everything still. This is unbelievable for Florida to have a stretch that they've had where defense has been this bad. Because for a while, even though Florida's been known for offense, for a while there, it was just a given because of the athletes Florida can recruit that Florida was going to have a good defense. And ever since 2020, it has not been that. I mean, Florida hasn't had a good defense whatsoever, not even close to a good defense. First of all, that's just it. Can they get back at least as a whole defense to be good? But if you want to look at this defense and look at particulars, I still think they feel much better about the defensive line than they did going into spring practice, and I think that's welcome news. You have, I think, a lot of depth there. They got some young players in Joseph Mbachu and Jeremiah McLeod who were true freshmen last year that they're really counting on this year. The return of Brendan Bett in the middle as well. They hit the transfer portal for some edge rushers and Emmanuel Obadejo, and then Jaden Woods and LJ McCray return. Two highly rated edge rushers that really should help create pressure on the quarterback. Linebackers good with Miles Graham returning and leading that group. But for Florida, it's been the secondary. Florida at one time could coin the term DBU and have been nowhere near that in recent years. Safety play, probably the biggest question mark. I think they lost a lot of guys from the transfer portal off of last year's team and bring in a couple, and Cam Dooley from Kentucky, DJ Coleman from Baylor. Those guys are going to go a long way in determining how good this Gator defense can be. Corner, was always a given for Florida as well. Got some questions there, but I think they feel good about where they're at least if they can get better safety play to help a lot of those big plays that Florida's just given up in the last few years. So if I had to pinpoint where Florida absolutely has to be better than they have been in recent years, it is certainly the safety play.
Okay, taking a look at the 2026 schedule, and you don't have to necessarily put a number on it, but what do you think is the realistic expectation for Florida in year one under Jon Sumrall?
I think realistic expectation, you should bare minimum 7. I mean, I think that's the expectation. If you expect that, hey, all Florida needed was a better head coach, and if you believe he's a better head coach, then 7 is the absolute minimum expectation, I think, to feel somewhat better about where this thing is. 8 wins, I think, with this schedule in Jon Sumrall's first year is I think would turn a lot of heads. I think would be really good, and maybe a trajectory path for what he's able to build in Gainesville. Anything more than that, I think you absolutely take it, and I don't think you can complain anything about anything more than 8 wins. But you still got there's 4 teams on this schedule that are certainly would be looked at as clear head and shoulders above Florida, and that's Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Oklahoma, teams that have been in the college football playoff the last couple of years, in some form or fashion. So that's 4 teams. Florida gets 2 of them at home with Ole Miss and Oklahoma. They have to go to Texas and then have to play Georgia and Atlanta. That's the 4 teams. Can Florida get a good win out of that group? I think seasons don't really go as much as you plan. So if you look at a year one, you might win a game you're not supposed to, but probably lose a game you shouldn't supposed to either. And we look at Florida, and they've had trouble at Missouri. They've had trouble at Kentucky in recent years when they've played those teams. So, yeah, it's hard to kind of pinpoint where Florida might falter, where they might get that big win. But that's kind of what I'm looking for. In that group of 4 teams that have been competing for the playoff, can Florida get a big win there? And then can maybe they avoid the game that maybe when they go on the road, Florida might not be – it'd be close to a 50-50 battle, especially early in the season against Missouri, since you don't really know what this Florida team is at that point. But it's certainly I think you look at it, 8-4, I think, is probably the baseline expectation where everything kind of feels rosy about looking at the future.
Kirby Smart's been on record as saying he'd like to see this on campus, and I don't know if Jon Sumrall has said it or not, but is that something that maybe this regime could push to see the Florida-Georgia game return to on campus?
I don't think so. I think now that we get the 9 SEC conference games, that gives that extra home game every other year that was probably missing with Florida-Georgia. So I think that might calm down a little bit. We got Atlanta this year. You have Tampa next year. Then it will return. So it's already been announced it's going to return to Jacksonville, I think, for at least another 4 years after this 2-year hiatus as the stadium gets rebuilt here in Jacksonville. So I don't think, at least in the near future, it's going to stay a neutral site game. There's a lot of money involved with that, but I really think that sticking point of getting that extra home game every other year because of the 9-game conference schedule might kind of slow that conversation down a little bit. So I mean, look, I'm in Jacksonville. I want it to stay in Jacksonville. I'm a local guy. There's something unique about the world's largest outdoor cocktail party here in Jacksonville, but we'll see how it goes the next couple of years. But I do think it may not be a bad thing. Like maybe twice a decade at least. Go a home and home where the fan bases, the players, the programs can experience that big time rivalry game or at home. In Athens or in Gainesville.
Man, Dave, we appreciate you hopping on with us, man. I know Cole and Greg, they're out. Appreciate you just hopping on with us, talking some Florida football in 2026.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. That's Dave Waters, who covers the Florida Gators there on Gators Breakdown on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. Recap everything that we heard from Dave, take a look at Florida, and kind of give our thoughts on the schedule moving forward in 2026. What does success look like for the Gators? Also hear from you, 205-834-9450 on the Jocks text line and phone lines as well. Keep it locked right here on Mac and Cube in the morning.
The capital of the sports talk nation. This is Jocks 94.5 and JocksFM.com. Birmingham.
8:34 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian and John here with you. Got a chance to hear from Dave Waters, who covers the Florida Gators down in the state of Florida. Just kind of, I love hearing the realistic talk of like, hey, there are some question marks. Now, are there as many as we had last season going into the season? Because we all assumed, we fell victim to it, that DJ Lagway, from what we saw in 24, like, oh man, Florida is back. And then they weren't. But then the thing is, you play the season out and it's, okay, yeah, you don't look as great as, as you expect against USF. You lose that game, you'll go on the road and lose to LSU. But then late in the season, you find out you mess around there and beat Texas, and it's, okay, so talent is definitely not the question mark, but he hit the nail right on the head. It just came straight down to coaching. And he brought up a great point of, okay, if Jon Sumrall, because of his track record, he's shown that he's won at everywhere he's been, and not just, down the road success. It's when he gets there, it flips. But he's also realistic of saying like, hey, it's the SEC, 7 wins, 8 wins. We're feeling a little bit better about the future of Florida. And he also brought up a great point because I guess I didn't expect it to really be a quarterback battle between Tramel Jones and Austin Philo. I think when you hire Buster Faulkner from Georgia Tech, he brings Aaron Philo with him. It's a it's a plug and play type situation.
Pretty much, not unlike Golesh and Byron Brown. Like you just kind of
just kind of assume, and then to hear that no, it's a battle. Like it doesn't really matter which one you go to. That you feel pretty confident for this Florida Gators football team in 2026. But I look at Florida, and it's crazy. It's crazy that I feel more optimistic about them now than I did when they had when they had the known pieces returning last season. And again, a lot of it is just kind of reflection of maybe DJ Lagway. The expectation was too high, never lived up to it. But right now, Tremel Jones, even going into 2025 when Tremel Jones was in, it didn't really feel like, you don't really have an answer. But then also, Aaron Philo transfers in, and you think it's a plug and play situation. But it's Jon Sumrall. It's a Jon Sumrall effect. Because we've seen it within our own state at Troy, even when he took the Tulane job, got them competing at a high level immediately, that it's hard not to think that Florida's going to have success in year one. And even going back the past 2 seasons when they've matched up with Georgia, it's been a dogfight. No pun intended for Georgia, but it's been a dogfight. Even with the lack of consistency that you've seen with Billy Napier, that man, would we really be crazy to think that Jon Sumrall finds a way to mess around and beat Kirby Smart in year one? But also you got to avoid those highs and you got to avoid the pitfalls along the way. But I think for Florida, one, Jaden Baugh. And again, it's different in this day and age. We haven't seen, those Derrick Henry type backs where we can just say, hey, we're about to line up and run 13 down your throat until you stop them. But you've got a home run hitter back there. And
you've got someone that can do it.
Oh, 100%. Because I know Cole was high on him last season going into the season, and he kept trying to explain to people, like, I don't think y'all realize how good Jaden Baugh is. And as the season progressed, it was never a question mark of Florida being able to run the football. It was, man, can they find a quarterback to kind of help them out along the way? So I think with the pieces that you have at the receiver, Dave spoke highly of the receiver room that Florida has. Greg has spoken highly of the receiver room that Florida has. It feels as though the pieces are there for Jon Sumrall to have success early on. It's just now you have the same conversation we always have. It's the daunting SEC schedule. But looking at Florida, open up with Florida Atlantic versus Campbell, then they're on the road at Auburn, which is a game that we know here in the state, like that's a fork in the road. But then they got Ole Miss on the road at Florida, South Carolina at home, at Texas, Georgia, Oklahoma, on the road at Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and Florida State. So the schedule, again, depending on how you look at it and how you feel about a lot of these other teams, it's not the easiest road for Florida, but it's okay. Well, if let's just say they go on the road and beat Auburn, they're going, they get Ole Miss at home. They've shown even when they're in their down years, they can knock off a college football playoff contender. And let's just say that Ole Miss is rolling at that time. It ain't going to be easy down there in the swamp. And I think for Jon Sumrall, it's hey, I'm not here to play around. I ain't here to mess around. Like, we're here to win football games. We're going to do it now. I'm interested to see what Florida looks like, but I think that 8 is you really do have to feel confident about where the program is heading. And it's so unique because I feel like Florida and Auburn are very similar in the way, like the turnover in coaching, and all of a sudden the expectation level year in and year out consistently changes. But we've at least seen what Florida can look like when they are dominant. Like, it is rolling. They're one of the best teams in college football. But you go back and, Jim McElroy had them in a conference championship. Dan Mullen had him in a conference championship. Will Muschamp, he had success, got him to a Sugar Bowl. But it's almost like the expectation for Florida, not necessarily expectation. I think the patience that Florida is willing to show at times it's unlike other programs, because they're like, you know what? Once you show us that, we're latching on. Like, it's a latch on effect, and we're riding with you. And I think what Billy Napier kind of fell into was, man, we almost didn't realize how good we had it until it was gone. And he was kind of fighting an uphill battle the entire time. Because like Dave said, it wasn't a question of, is Florida going to play hard? No, we're just getting out coached. We're getting out schemed. Where now I think Jon Sumrall's in that boat of, nah, we ain't going to be out coached. You're just going to have to prove that you're a better football team than us. And I think he injected a new pulse. It's just taking a little bit to beat right now going into 2026. But I think if they get a couple wins early on, they're going to be locked and loaded, ready to go.
Which is going to make the Auburn game week 3 so fascinating because, as Dave said, that 7 games is kind of the baseline expectation for the first year. And if you think about it, you are looking up right now for sure at 4 teams. They're looking up at Ole Miss, they're looking up at Texas, Georgia, and Oklahoma. So those are the 4 teams that most likely you will lose to because as it stands now, those teams are better than you. So Fully understandable, especially your first-year coach. Okay, yeah, you get a couple of them at home, but most likely you're losing all those. So of your remaining 8 games, like the expectation is to go 7-1. So let's go and give them Florida Atlantic and Campbell. So of your 6 remaining games of Auburn, Missouri, South Carolina, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and Florida State, like you're expected to go 5-1 with that, which from what it seems like they're assembling there, they should have the talent to do it. And even if, they stumbled somewhere, they looked ahead to Ole Miss and stumbled on the road at Auburn, or got so beat up, or an emotional win after, or emotional loss after Oklahoma, they go to Kentucky and mess around and lose, whatever. Okay, fine. First year coach, this happens. 7 wins doesn't seem too far out of the realm of possibility, but also, I don't want to say if it seems high, but when he said 7 wins, like, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. But when you look at it, like, all right, you're expected to lose to those better teams. Now all of a sudden, there's no wiggle room. Like you're going 7-1. It's like, oh, well, dang, that feels the expectations all of a sudden really just got high.
Yeah, and I think that's whoever was going to take the Florida job. I think it was going to be a tough task regardless, just because of how it can be. Because when Florida is rocking, I mean, it's tough. Like no matter who you are, because you've seen it. Like we've seen it in years past, even when they're down, that they can rise above. Like, knocking off Texas when hell they fired Billy Napier after the win. Like they won the game and still fired.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it ain't too easy down there in Gainesville. But kind of to your point, Auburn, coin flip, both of them in very similar situations. New head coach, new regimes, everything's different. On the road at Missouri, the health of Ahmad Hardy. Is he going to be 100%? Can you get them a team that more than likely is probably going to be ranked maybe at that time, but at least going into the season, they're going to be a ranked football team. But also Chip Lindsey, the offensive coordinator. Does Austin Simmons finally, maybe the change of scenery unlocks him? Because I do think that's the most talented quarterback they've had. South Carolina, who knows what to expect?
Right.
Because you may run on Lenore Sellers on a bad day and he cook you for, 300 through the air and 100 on the ground. And we kind of thought we were going to get that one. And the road doesn't get any easier because you got to go to Texas after that. And then you got the Florida-Georgia line game. And then Oklahoma. Okay. Yeah, I like the way I sprinkled that in.
Oh, all of a sudden they're back now.
The Florida-Georgia line game. Then you got Oklahoma to start the month of November. If we got good John Mateer, you could be looking at an uphill battle even at home. And again, who knows what to expect with Kentucky? Who knows what to expect with Vanderbilt? And then you end up with a rivalry game at Florida State. So I think all in all, like the schedule doesn't necessarily assure you 7 or 8 wins, but the ones that you have the ones that are 50-50 at some point have to be 51-49 to say, like, yeah, we got to get these.
They'll basically need to be locked in from really week 3, but really week 1, because there's going to be no room for error. But it sounds like that's what Jon Sumrall at least is building down there. So the rest of the country may need to watch out, because if Florida can get rolling, that's a giant that's been sleeping for some time.
Absolutely. We'll continue the conversation on the other side. 205-834-9450. Keep it locked right here on Mac and Cube in the morning.
Go inside Jocks 94.5 on Jocks TV. Morning Jocks, Mac and Cube, and three-man front video simulcasts are presented by Bill Smith Buick GMC and Game Day Men's Health. Watch on the Jocks mobile app and YouTube by searching Jocks 94.5 TV.
8:49 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Man, just kind of looking back on Jon Sumrall's career. One, he hasn't been a head coach for a long time. But do you know what his record is right now as a head coach?
No, but I know it's good.
43-12. It's like, wow, okay. Like,
I mean, it's Dusty May-like.
Yeah.
It's Kalen DeBoer-like.
Correct. Yeah. That's a great comparison of, man, in a short amount of time, this brother, hey. And that's the thing when when I hear Coach Sumrall, when we've had him on Jocks, like his demeanor, his attitude is just infectious. It's, man, he loves some football. He loves ball, and he knows what it looks like. First year at Troy was 12-2. Second year 11-2. 2024 at Tulane, he went 9-5, and then this past season went 11-3, and now he's the head coach of the Florida Gators. Man, that's impressive. But I do think that Florida is due for a quick turnaround. I do think that for him, I think he's going to inject, and even if you saw some of the clips during the spring, like, he's got some old school ball mentality of, we ain't here to be cute. We ain't here it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun. We're here to win ball games. And I mean, win ball games now. And looking at his track record, it's very well represented. And I think that for Florida, you almost need, and again, no offense to Billy Napier, but when you would listen to his press conferences, and I mean, yeah, he coached under Nick Saban. He was a position coach. But he didn't have like the Curt Cignetti effect where they both coached receivers, but Curt Cignetti's design was a little bit, it was like, hey, I'm cool, I'm laid back, but you're going to see on the football field. Whereas Billy Napier was kind of if he didn't have to talk, he wouldn't say a word. Like, you would never know he was in the room. And I guess he was fighting an uphill battle the whole time he was there because think of the personalities that you've had there. You've had Steve Spurrier, Urban Meyer, Dan Mullen, hell, even Will Muschamp. I mean, he's
a personality.
Yeah. And that was a complete tone shift. And crazy enough, you ended up with Anthony Richardson being a first round pick, top 5 pick, in that same system. And you also recruited DJ Lagway to be there, who was a 5-star coming out of Texas. So, like, that's the thing. Talent has never been the issue. It really has just been, man, if we ain't got the coach here, it's not going to work. But I think you got the best of both worlds in this situation because now if you're Jon Sumrall, you're like, man, I can go out here and recruit some dogs because, you kind of working with you kind of danced with your hands tied when you were at Troy and Tulane, kind of working with what you got, but you ended up having some success. Now you can go out there and get some show enough dogs and we can get this thing rolling. So I'm interested to see what it looks like. And I think that for Florida, kind of what Dave said, 8 wins, you're feeling pretty good about the trajectory of where your program could be. Another team that Florida will be facing in their annual rivalry game is the Georgia Bulldogs. And we'll have Roddy Nabulsi coming on at 9:15, discuss Georgia, but kind of taking a look at Georgia going into the season. A lot of the conversation really begins and ends with Gunnar Stockton. And, for so many years, it's Georgia reached the pinnacle. They reached the top. They were the best college football team.
Yes.
Period.
Absolutely.
Wasn't any debate. Now that you started to see a little bit of, at first it was, okay, well, now is it Georgia, Alabama, and Alabama would still kind of get the better of them, and you had nobody else in the SEC really on that level. But then a couple of years ago, when Georgia takes that trip to Oxford, Mississippi, and the one illustrious win that Lane Kiffin was looking for his entire career, he finally got it. It showed that, man, okay, maybe Georgia has brought it down a notch. Maybe they have taken a step back. And to think that your quote unquote step back is still winning the conference and, making the college football playoff, but maybe not having the success on the college football playoff standard of schedule as far as, matchups and losing early on, that's your quote unquote step back. It kind of shows you where you are as a program. Like, it's okay. They're still pretty doggone good, and it still has to go through Athens. But I think that for Georgia going into this season, because there's no more, like the Nolan Smiths or the Jordan Davises or Malachi Starks back there in your secondary. It's almost a foregone conclusion that until proven otherwise on a consistent basis, Georgia's still going to be in the conversation of not just conference championship, but national championship.
Are they the least talked about national championship contender we've had in a while? Like, I think there are no preseason polls out, but it feels like no one has them at number one. Most people don't have them at number one. Most people have your Notre Dames, your Texas, your Ohio State, teams like that. But they still have Georgia like in the top 5.
Yeah.
And people still think they can win, but also no one's putting them at number one either. Like, it feels weird for a position that for Georgia to be in, but also it makes sense because like we know they're a very, very good team.
Correct.
But we're also not willing to say that they're probably not the best team. And it hadn't helped that he, for whatever reason, he can't win a game in the 12-team playoff.
Right.
He can win in the 4-team.
Right.
But all of a sudden you expand a little bit now. Kirby Smart just can't seem to find his way to do it. He's won back-to-back SEC championships. No, don't get me wrong. Like, that's great and all, but the season keeps going after that. And Georgia fans are like, all right, come on, man. We need to find a way to win another. But it just feels weird because and maybe because we're not in that state, and maybe this is how maybe Georgia and some of their SEC felt about Alabama during the back half of Saban's run. Not that they were definitely number one, whatever. It was like, we know they're up there. I don't know if they're number one, but we know they're up there. So there's no real reason to talk about or focus on them, especially since they have a quarterback that's coming back that arguably is the best in the SEC, but maybe because he's not flashy and he's not out there, he's not flamboyant, that not many people feels like are hyping him up, but we also expect him to be there.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. It's because we just expect them to be in the conversation that we don't feel the need to talk about them. It's just kind of, they're still going to go through Georgia, but also like Georgia's been wounded these past 3 or 4 seasons where it's, okay, well, we were talking about the big championship. We understand the SEC title, but we're talking about the national championship picture. I'm kind of with you. Have we forgotten? Have we forgotten?
And it probably doesn't help that we don't know a lot of the names on that team. Like, we know the quarterback,
right?
Maybe receiver too, but like for the most part, we don't know most of that squad. Well, you knew your Jordan Davises and people like that, your Brock Bowers, you knew those people, your Ladd McConkeys.
That is true. We'll talk about Georgia on the other side. Keep it locked right here for hour number 3 on Mac and Cube in the morning.
This is McElroy and Cubelic in the morning.
One Night with Steiny.
One Night with Steiny. Shout out, full send now.
Hey, bro, what's your name, bro?
Steiny. What the hell? We've been sitting here for like an hour together.
I don't know your name. What's your name, bro?
Steiny. I can't guarantee anything. All I can guarantee is that you're going to be entertained. I'm a professional. I'm here to interview.
So the whole interview, you didn't ask me what I like better, Burger King or McDonald's.
All right, and we are going to wrap up on that note. Thank you, Steve, so much. That was amazing.
Burger King.
One Night with Steiny. One Night with Steiny, baby. What's up?
One Night with Steiny. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Square up.
Yo, what's going on, man? It's Andre Berto, 2-time world champion. I fought. I loved it. I really wanted to do that sit down from a fighter's perspective. My G. What's going on? Caleb Platts. What's going on, my boy? Now you got a chance to really draw in your audience, to let them see who you are.
I've had to have a lot of internal talks to say, do I even want to carry on?
As fighters, we know what time it is. Like I think the time is now.
Square up.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform. Let's go.
One Night with Steiny.
One Night with Steiny. Shout out, full send Nelk. This is just about me being myself. Gonna be chaotic. I can't guarantee anything. All I can guarantee is that you're gonna be entertained. How can I join OVO?
You can keep DMing Drake or keep paying.
By the way, I like OVO.
How do you know that I do that?
I know you DM Drake all the time. I know.
How do you know that?
You paid me $3,000 on Venmo one time to text him for you.
Dude.
One Night with Steiny.
One Night with Steiny, baby. Let's go.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.